Hey, listeners, welcome back to the Dream Stream. I'm the host, Yiskah Koock, here with our long lost friend, Brendan Merritt, who is my dream brother and decades long friend. Hey, Brendan.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. So glad to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, likewise. I don't
Yeah.
see many people these days, so I guess par for the course, right?
Are you still working at home?
No, I'm working in on site at Caramount Medical, and
Oh, I didn't know you were at Caramount.
yeah, that's where I've been for the last few years,
Okay.
and getting exposed daily to various viral vectors.
Oh, no.
In fact, I just got over having the RSV virus, which
What is that?
it's a respiratory virus that normally only tends to hit young kids and
Huh.
can be dangerous to toddlers. But apparently this year it's hitting the adult population because
Yes.
kids were out of school for so long and they're going to school now and giving it all to each other and they're bringing it home. And
When I used to be a kindergarten teacher, I was on like a 5-week cycle. Every 5 weeks, I would get sick. The first year. And then the second year, actually, I wasn't getting sick like that. I had built up an immunity to little sticky children.
that's good. Yeah, I think my ex was like that too because she used to work with children and consequently, after 2 or 3 rounds of whatever respiratory thing was going around, she'd settle
Invited.
out.
Yeah.
But
You
yeah, this
sound a
one
little,
was a little rough. I thought I had crossover or a breakthrough infection of COVID,
yeah, it sounds
and
like.
because I actually lost my sense of smell and everything.
Oh, really? Then I would
Yeah.
definitely think, well,
Oh
then it
yeah, it
probably
connects
was.
a lot of the symptoms.
It probably was COVID, Brendan.
What was that?
It probably was COVID.
No, it wasn't. I got tested,
Wasn't it? Okay.
and they were like, "Well, good news. You don't have COVID, but you have RSV." I'm like, "What the hell is RSV?"
RSVP.
Yeah, RSV, it can be a problem for older adults and particularly for those who are immune compromised, like
Yes.
myself.
Oh,
And
yes. Oh,
it
yes.
can cause pneumonia. And I think like I didn't wait long enough to get the third uh, vaccine because I got a booster and my body reacted kind of funny to that.
Okay. How many months after you got your COVID vaccines did you get?
6 months. So I mean, I was in,
Is that what
the
they say?
but I think because my immune system was already up in arms from the
Yes.
RSV, I
Yes.
had an extreme immune reaction, which left me with some chronic inflammation, which still trying to figure out.
Yes. So is
So mortality has been on my mind a lot
yes,
lately.
it's a very thought about point right now. I think everybody's
Well,
thinking about mortality right now, you know.
yeah, I think more so. I mean, this time of year in general, around the
Winter coming.
Halloween holiday and
Oh, yes.
the turning of the wheel of the year and things getting darker and all certainly
Yes.
puts you in mind of that. So,
It's time to
I
go
already,
inward. Yeah. Have you been doing a lot of any meditation around this?
I need to get back on the stick because I'm finding my spiritual life wanting a
Yes.
lot lately. I'm still like actually dealing with a little bit of what I think is PTSD from my experience being hospitalized
Yes.
here, and that's affected my concentration. And I think I'm finally getting to a point where I have enough concentration to read a book.
Oh, good.
So,
My
yeah.
new thing is I have to wear readers now, magnifying glasses, so
Yeah, I'm probably going to need those too. I had some eye
age,
stuff
age is
done.
coming upon me. as I look into my gray hairs on Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah, oh well, I've got
Yeah, I love it. I love
little,
it.
what do they
Wizard
call it?
beard.
My friend Orion Foxwood refers to it as the honey badger look.
Oh yeah. Oh, I like the honey badger look. We just need to file your teeth.
Yeah, right. Not gonna be a bad idea.
So yeah, I wanted to share a little bit about the meditation I've been doing. And then if you don't mind, I'd love to get into some of your dream fragments.
Of course.
Wonderful. So I've been doing a meditation in the liminal place between waking and sleeping. And I make the point that's the space to, if you want to ask for a certain dream, if you want to incubate a dream, that would be where we do that in between dream and being wakeful. And so I've been building a prayer cathedral in my mind.
Building a what?
A prayer cathedral. I'm using, like Carl Jung's ideas about active imagination. And of course, our dream teacher, Robert Moss, teaches a lot about the imaginal realms. And so, and I figure, because I, for one, really believe in the power of prayer and in the power of our thoughts. And so then I thought, well, I better start taking it more, not more seriously, but I better commit some energy there, because if not, it's very wasteful on my part to believe in prayer, but not to work that way. So it's every night. And I've been building this prayer cathedral, and then also beyond the prayer cathedral, which I fill up with people that I either know of are in need, or friends of mine asked to put a specific person in the prayer cathedral or this, but I also have then a healing space. And and I just am learning so much about this as I go. So now what I'm realizing is, because my brain is so talky. It's like words, like less images. And I realize when I'm in this healing space beyond the prayer cathedral, that I can't be like, okay, like not swelling here, or like not this, not, I can't say the negative, not Raynaud's disease on my toes or whatever it is, even though I might be thinking it. So I can't keep saying it in the negative. I feel I really need to be represented in the affirmative. So even though I don't quite have the words to say, then therefore I need to shift to visualization. And that's really helpful for me. So I've always been a writer and interested in words. And I guess that's just the way my mind works. But now I'm having to shift that as well for my healing. And that's been a very powerful teaching for me.
That's interesting. Yeah, a friend of mine who teaches neurolinguistic programming, basically when he was doing his classes, a lot of the exercises involve heavy visualization work.
Yes.
And one thing he, is very clear about is that not everybody is visually oriented. Some people are kinesthetic, some people are auditory,
Yes.
and you have to work with whatever sense it is that comes to you easily.
Okay.
I personally am very visual,
Okay.
despite the fact that I used to do a lot of writing. I
Yes.
generally don't dream in words, and sometimes when words do come to me in dreams, it's as if a very clear, specific message is trying to come through.
Being
So
told.
those are usually
That sounds cool.
highlighted for me when that happens. Like if I hear
Yes.
a voice speaking to me,
Yes.
is something that means that I really got to pay attention to
Yes.
whatever's being said.
Yes.
I haven't been doing any specific practices recently, and that's something I need to get back into. But I did recently sign up for a session with a healer through healthcare as a human right, which I don't know, our viewers would be aware of it, but basically it's a collective of people from different holistic healing backgrounds who
Yes.
offer their services to people in need, so that they can get the health care they need. And a lot of what's being offered is energetic work and what have you. So I worked with someone who did a remote healing on me,
Yeah.
which basically in this case meant that I needed to put myself in a meditative state and just be receptive
Yes.
to whatever was coming. And it was interesting because a lot of different imagery came to me. This was right after a very dear friend of mine died. My friend Rana Janto, who was very community oriented and very well loved among her community at all.
He was connected with the Freestyle Frolic. Is that
She
right?
was one of the founders of it, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So dance collective that she
Yes.
formed had a huge community,
Yes.
and she was very well honored by that community.
Good.
But yeah, it was a really difficult, and still is, for me to get my head around this person leaving the physical.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
one of the things that happened during that healing session was that I got a very, very clear sense of her presence on the other side, and saw her in my mind's eye, and it was nothing but a sense of calm
Right.
and peace. And I just knew, wherever she is,
Yes.
she's fine. And that was kind of like her coming through to let me know that she was okay.
Yes.
But I also got a lot of other images,
That's
like,
powerful, Brendan. That's so powerful.
yeah, and I mean, this time of year in general, I think about
Yes.
people who have passed on, relatives and friends,
Yeah.
but I try to pay special attention to people in my ancestral line,
Okay.
because I think for myself, a lot of the personal work that I've had to do has to do with healing the ancestral line, and trying to get over, for lack of a better word, the damage that may have been done, being raised by people who were in a certain lineage, because
Yes.
families tend to recreate similar environments over time, and not all of it's healthy.
Mhm.
That's,
We don't have to unconsciously repeat it.
yeah,
Yes.
even in our own personal selection of partners, we make choices sometimes which are related to our own personal wounding. And, the key to moving forward from that is, first off, acknowledging, secondly, forgiving, um, and then, accepting and realizing where we might have those traits in ourselves, and really putting the microscope on ourselves
Yes.
with regard to that. And it's hard work. It's, I guess it's what people call shadow work to a degree, a lot of it.
Mhm. It is hard work. I sometimes I'm really just tired. I just want to go to sleep, and I lay down in bed, and even if I still, what I have found that I do is I still have to do the first parts of the visualization and open up the prayer cathedral for whomever needs healing. I
Yeah.
still open up this space. I just might not have the energy to like choose who will be in there and greet them and walk them. And it's like sometimes I'm not able to do all of that.
So do you see the cathedral as an actual physical place in your mind's eye, or?
It's So what I see is I first walk up to the prayer cathedral, which means just before entering into it. So it's always, I walk up this hill and there's a stream, and I sit down next to a very powerful teacher of mine, whom I only know from the internet. And I take 3 really deep breaths to center myself. And then I have another mantra that I say going up to the prayer cathedral. And I've learned so many different things. So now I know there's great fields of animals around it. And it's like a stand of 9 birch trees. And I often, when I see the cathedral filling up, I have to like, everybody step back, it's like, let's widen the circle. I have to do that sometimes because I'm like populated circle. And there's, it's similar to the Mishkan in Judaism, which is the Mishkan, which is a prayer tent that the Jews who are wandering in Israel take with them to have their God relations. And it's similar to that, except it's not mobile because their trees are rooted, and it has like silk fabric, like a purple and then like a royal red. And I'm always building it. I'm always trying to visualize more about it. I'm always learning more about it. It just takes so much thought energy, which is great, but it is hard work.
So that object, is it somehow related to the idea of the covenant that the Jews have with Yahweh?
I think so, in that it looks like the Mishkan, so I think so. When I first started building the prayer cathedral in my mind, it started out being a stone cathedral, like up on a big hill. And then that wasn't quite right. I just tried different things when I was first doing it. I was just building it, I was just trying to, and it ended up being 9 white birch trees with fabric. And so I have to sometimes spread it out. So, and then I have a second part. I haven't really been that public about where the place is because I'm not really comfortable to do that yet. But then I have like a whole healing space from there. And, so the prayer cathedral is up on a hill. And then I say my blessings and my gratitude. And then I walk down the hill and then onto a beach, sand. And then I could say this part. I follow the rays of the sun over the ocean, and you can just see that path when you're standing at the shore and you can see the path. So I follow that, and all sorts of things happen. So so I guess it is that what you mean by asking if it's a physical place?
Yeah, I mean, I just wasn't sure if it was like seen as a physical temple enclosure or anything like that. And there's a reason I'm asking that is in some of the Western Hermetic esoteric traditions, one of the practices that people do is they build what they call an astral temple. And it's a place that you go to do your spiritual work, and it's a construct, visualization, but it's
I didn't know. I had a feeling that this is such powerful, but people do talk about the imagination and the imaginal realms, but I had a feeling that I'm not the first. I mean, it's obvious with all the wisdom and spiritual teachings that I'm not the first person to explore this space, but I would be interested to learn more about those Hermetic traditions.
Yeah, it's interesting. The other thing that's coming to me is that I don't know how well you remember any of this, but when we were in dream group together with Dr. Larson, there was a dream I brought forward where, and it was a big dream for me, where I was engaged in what seemed like a pilgrimage of sorts, and I was going up a hill, which kind of echoed the spiral
Yes,
castle, if you
yes.
would. And I was walking up through the bed of a stream with the water coming over my feet.
Love that.
And it
I'm
took
gonna
me a
have to
while to realize
incorporate
it.
that.
What?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just was thinking I'm going to have to incorporate that into my visualizations because I love that so much. I'm sitting by a stream. I should put my feet in it. Yeah.
Yeah, the streams comes up again for me more recently, but I'll get back to that.
Yes.
And I guess, and this happened to me, this dream came to me probably, maybe 16, 15 years ago, while Lucas was still in vitro, like he was still gestating. And it dawned on me, like at some point, that what I was seeing in my mind's eye was a place in England that's referred to as the Glastonbury Tour.
Oh, yes. Oh, I know a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big hill with a spiral
Yes.
ramp cut into it. And at the top of it is the remnants of an old actual cathedral that was, I think it was finally destroyed by Henry VIII when he was doing his purge.
Oh,
But it's supposed to be the burial place of King Arthur.
yeah. I
Supposedly
know
the
that from,
monks found it and
yes.
King Arthur's body there. And, you know, some people speculate that this was just a
Open the
way
door,
to,
honey. You left it. I'm so sorry. We're having an issue with the cat who got out, but he's back. So sorry. Say that again, Brendan.
so some people speculate that the story about the monks finding the burial place of King Arthur was just a ploy to get tourists there. But the place has
Oh,
long associations, and there are two healing wells there. There's a white stream and a red stream where the water is actually colored by the minerals. And the red
wow.
stream is really iron rich. The white
Yes.
stream is got lime and chalk.
Wow.
So there's this interesting alchemical symbolism going on in
Yes.
the land itself as well. And a lot of people consider, you know, this place to be a spot where energies converge.
Yes.
A lot of people go there on days like the vernal equinox, and people make pilgrimages to this place all the time. And the town itself has a reputation of being sort of new age, you know, place in
Yes.
England where there's a lot of, you know, I guess a lot of woo, if you want to use
It's
that
funny
term.
because we've been using that word in a couple of these dream stream podcasts. The woo. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of woo woo that goes around Glastonbury, but there's also something real there that a lot of people feel. So this has been a place that I've been called to try to visit at some point,
Yes.
and hopefully I will get to.
Yes.
Getting back to the stream factor, though,
Yes.
during that healing session I had, and then even in my dream life where I can only recall fragments,
Right.
there have been places by streams
Wow.
where I can actually hear the water rushing in my ears, like, and the stream
Oh,
talking.
beautiful.
Um,
I will also incorporate that, bring in more of the senses as I, expand on the vision that I'm working with. I will hear the stream water. Beautiful.
yeah, and in real life and in dreams, both. I've had experiences where it seems like the stream is talking, like the burble of the stream
Yes.
can actually almost sound like someone verbalizing and talking.
It's so cool because it's different sounds in different places along the spring. It's like there's different gurglings and burblings.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm kind of an animist. So for
Okay, I
me,
love it.
like streams are living things,
Oh
and
yeah.
the spirit of the place is important. And
Yes.
there have been times in real life where I've been at particular streams and what have you, and I got a real sense of what they would refer to as the geni loci, or the spirit of the place, like being a real presence.
Yes.
And usually being able to connect to that is in and of itself actually very healing. And you really have to open up all of your senses to
Yes.
take in, whatever that nonverbal
Yes.
speaking is that's happening. And that was happening to me
Uh,
recently, both in the dream fragment that I had, as well as
yes.
a visualization during that healing
Yes.
process I had. Just a real sense of that.
Mhm. I love it.
So
Opening up all the senses. So what I see, I don't know if imagination is not a sense, but what I hear, smell. Do you use your sense of smell a lot in your meditative visions?
that one doesn't come to me easily, but senses of smell tend to trigger memories for me.
Yes.
There are particular scents that I associate with those kind of experiences, and for me, it's wild rose is a
Oh,
big one, and
beautiful.
they tend to, come out in spring,
Yes.
and they're very almost spicy in their
Yeah.
scent, like compared to the apple blossoms that are out in the same
I'm
time.
a lilac lover.
I like lilacs too. Lilacs send me to a very different
Good.
place. But yeah, I always feel like there's a really strong spiritual presence behind the wild rose.
Yes. Yeah, beautiful. So that's wonderful. So you said you were dreaming about your mom lately, and I'm wondering,
Yeah,
does she
so the
fit into the
fragments that I can kind of pull together are that I was going somewhere with my mom, and it felt like we were going on a picnic to someplace, which I don't know if it's part of memory or what, but I remember kind of being outside on like a green sward um, with
and a green what?
sward, a meadow, like
Oh,
grassy plain, SWARD.
okay.
Um, not the pointy
No,
stem.
I get it now.
And um, in my dream, like the quality of light is very much like probably early spring, early summer.
Okay.
And I remember the light filtering through the trees. And there is a tree where we're going, so there's some shade. Um, and their blanket is spread out, and there's a picnic basket. And my mom looks very youthful in the dream. Um, And this is the kind of thing, that when I was young, she would, do. Like on weekends, we would usually have some kind of an outing if it was
Fun
possible.
mom. What a fun mom.
Yeah, like we would go to a lake that we visited a lot. Nothing like this landscape though. And there
And
was definitely
the
a sense
landscape,
of what?
the landscape in the dream, being in the green sword meadow, that where mom used to take you was not like that. This was different.
Yeah, the places that we'd go were
Yeah,
were
okay.
nothing like that. The dream almost seems like it combined several things. Um,
Okay.
the tree being a prominent place, there were a couple of trees that were pretty important to me growing up. One of them is still there, and it's part of the Shakespeare Garden area in Vassar's campus. A
Okay.
huge oak tree, which I refer to as the grandfather tree.
Yeah. Oh, I
Um,
have grandmother here. I wonder if they know each other.
yeah, maybe.
A
Um,
grandmother tree living just down the hill.
and there is a stream near it. Um, the stream is kind of obscured a little, but it was someplace I spent a lot of time going to as a teenager and just sitting and meditating under or reading. So there, for me, there's a long standing sense of the sacred associated with that tree. You get into Jungian analysis, the world trees are all over the place. So there's a bit of that happening. The tree is not as big in my dream as this thing, but it has a real presence.
Yes.
And the quality of light is the light filtering through the leaves of the tree.
Spring green.
Yeah, with the stream nearby. And I almost felt like in the picnic, I'm older than I would have been had
When,
it been
yeah.
a real life experience with my mom.
Okay.
Um, Probably in my early 20s in the dream.
Interesting.
And my mom is younger.
Okay.
And
Yeah. Like, guess what age realm is she? Is she also in her
she's
20s?
probably in her 40s, maybe
Okay.
30s.
Yeah. So
Uh,
now, can I ask you? This is a very vivid, like alive dream. If I'm the dreamer, for
oh yeah,
me, the colors, the light coming through the leaves, everything, and my mom looking. I don't know that you said beautiful, but I picture a young, beautiful woman, and I'm wondering, did it feel more like a dream visit than just a dream about your mom? Does it feel
I
like
was
a visit?
feeling like, yeah, I mean, I was kind of feeling like it was a dream visit, and particularly it being happening around this time of year,
Yes,
where the veils are supposed to be a little thinner.
yes.
uh, Kind of felt like, a reassurance from her, um, which I've had fragments before. Um, it almost seemed like a purified version of her, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. I kind of know what
Not,
you mean from my own dream visits.
yeah,
It's
not
not just shiny. It's not just that they look shiny and young and beautiful, but on the inside too, you're thinking?
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was definitely that. And I remember there being a sense of stuff that she wanted to talk about or discuss. Um,
Okay. Oh, do you
yeah,
remember
so there was a
what it
sense
was?
of
Is there
what?
information? Is there information that you need to have? Did mom come to tell the dreamer some important information that you need to have?
Um, there was a sense of the information being important, um, but it almost seemed like it was more business like, like mundane things, not spiritual at all,
Okay.
but had to do with our family, whatever it was. Like there was information which related to the legacy of our family, if you would.
Yes.
Um,
Interesting. That's
yeah, and I don't know what it was. Like, I don't have a conscious recollection. I remember there being a book being shown to me at
Yeah.
one point, which I'm getting fragments now as I talk about it, where it was like an illustrated book, almost like a illuminated manuscript,
Oh, beautiful.
like a larger book with like fancy cover, and
Yeah.
that was being brought out.
Wow. I think if this were my dream, I would want to do a dream reentry. And, a la Robert Moss, like to get into the meditative space and to, it's conscious, but it's not, it's like dreamy consciousness. I don't know even what to call it, but when one gets in the state, goes back into the dream and asks, specific questions, what I want to, and look into the book, and because maybe there's something, maybe there's something, even especially if it's about relatives in the lineage, because that's what I heard you talking about working with lately.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you were bringing up the um, bit that relates to Judaism, is because that's been coming up for me a little bit as well. I don't know if you, and probably not our listeners, don't recall, I had some DNA tests done a while back, and one of the things that came out of that is that there was a 7% Sephardic Jewish genetic marker that came up.
Okay.
And there's a lot of evidence to support
Yeah.
that my mom's side of the family were probably at one point German Jews that converted,
Okay.
probably for business opportunities. My, great grandfather, I think he may have had an overlay in England before they came to the States, and he became a Freemason, which, at the
I
time,
didn't know that you had
Freemason.
Freemason ancestry. That's
Yeah,
very powerful.
yeah, my great grandfather was a high-ranking Scottish Rite Mason. My
Really?
grandmother was a member of the Order of the Eastern Star, which is the female group
Yeah,
associated with the Masons.
that's awesome.
Always very secretive about it.
Yeah.
I can remember like asking her questions because she had some things around her room that had Masonic symbolism. In particular, the Eastern Star uses a pentacle,
Okay.
and the 5 points on the star actually represent different women from the Bible. Um, and I know that she represented Esther in the meetings that she was
Oh,
part of. So I guess they would take on different roles in whatever ceremonies they had.
I'm not surprised there was a bit of LARPing in the
Yeah,
rituals. You
yeah.
know,
I mean, ritual often um, encompasses that. I think
yeah,
theater and ritual are
yeah,
really like this. And if you know
yeah,
anything about the history of Greek theater, which another subject that Dr. Larson used to talk about a lot,
yes.
um, if you look at the structure of Greek theater, you can see it mirrored in the early Christian church. Like Christian rituals are basically based on Greek theater. The difference is you don't have
Oh,
the personae, but you have this call and response that's happening, which
yeah,
is just like the chorus in Greek
interesting.
theater, that's happening. And people already know the basics of the story, so they kind of follow along, but it's supposed to be a revelatory experience that's happening.
Wow.
So that was seems to have been a really big part of ritual practices in the ancient world, predating Christianity, and it got carried forward, in the form of a mass, in the Christian Catholic Church, and now, of course, in the Protestant Church. And I've been to a number of Jewish celebrations at temples, and you don't have the exact same kind of sense of that. So I think that that's really an add-on, as a result of the, kind of coming together.
The call and response is big in Jewish ritual. There's a lot of call and response. Yeah. That's cool. Did you grow up with Freemason festivals and teachings? Was there anywhere in your life that was passed through? I mean, I know you are a very mystical man, but was it I don't know that you even celebrate it. Was it observed? Was the Freemason teachings observed in your childhood, within your family?
Not that I was aware of. And if it was very on the DL and not talked about. And it wasn't anything I could really get information from my grandmother about. Some of those groups have like oaths of secrecy. You're not supposed to reveal the contents of the ceremonies.
Yes.
Partially because, there was persecution at one point of the Masons.
Yes.
And I think secondly, because the people involved in that tradition, not knowing what you're getting into, has an initiatory quality to it, when you're being shown the mysteries and, the pillars or whatever it is, symbols that you're being shown.
Sure.
There's a certain amount of revelation, I think, that happens by going into it blind.
Oh, interesting. And just learning as you become more a member of
as you're brought into,
Yeah.
and that's not unlike any mystery tradition. I think dream work can be like that too. You don't go into doing dream work having devoured like an encyclopedia of Jungian symbolism, and the symbolism is all very personal in dreams, but there are universal things that seem to come up.
Yes. Yes, I see that. The difference that I can see in this moment is that I wish there were more initiatory ritual, within this, what's available to me. I guess I need a ritual right now. I don't know, I just need something to shake it up. Not shake it up. Careful what you wish for. Not that, but like, I think I just need, you're talking about this, need more spiritual. That's well, Hanukkah's coming, right? So that's ritual.
Celebration of light. So,
okay, I'm good. Okay. So, it's coming up right now.
How many candles are on the menorah again?
There's 8, and then the one in the middle, which is called the shamus, which is the helper to light all the 8 that are part of the celebration. Yeah,
knowing a little bit what I do about the Kabbalah, I always wondered if there was some connection between the menorah lights and the different sephiroth.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, there might be, I don't know. I mean, there often is, when we're counting the Omer, which is another of the Jewish rituals between Sukkot and Passover. Each there's often a night that would represent more like a leader, like our father Abraham. That there's something to honor him, but not necessarily with the themes of the sephirot. How would you find how do you see a connection between the sphero and the menorah?
Yeah, I guess I wonder, if there is a connection to the idea of the sacred week,
Yes.
which, in a 7-day week, the original 7-day week was based on the idea of the 7 planets.
Okay.
And in the Kabbalah, one way that it gets interpreted by some people is that the lower part of the tree of life is
Yeah.
represented by 7 Sephiroth. And then the top 3
Yes.
are what they refer to as the supernals,
Yes.
with the Ein Sof being the
Unknown.
highest point,
Degree unknown.
and which is,
Keter is the head. Keter.
Yeah.
And then
Heka.
Keter, K-E-T.
Oh, Keter, yeah.
And then Gevurah and Hesed.
Yeah, which represent sort of the masculine and feminine.
Yes. Like loving
and,
kindness for Hesed and for
mercy
Gevurah,
and severity. Yeah.
or like more, what's the word I'm looking for? How would you describe Gevurah? Stricter or more?
Yeah, I associate it more with like a martial kind of masculine force.
Yeah.
Hesed being mercy, being
Yeah.
more feminine, receptive.
Yes.
And, Gevurah being the more martial,
Yeah.
warrior aspect.
Yeah.
The vengeful God, if you would, like of the Old Testament.
Yeah. Right. So we're taught that we ahava Hashem, which is love of God, and also yara Hashem, which is translated as fear of God. But yara is kind of like awe, like when not fear. It's a little bit of fear, but it's just because you're in awe of the great power.
Yeah.
of God. So that's interesting to put that also with Keter and Gevurah. I mean, Keter, Hesed, and Gevurah. So there's so many connections, so much to learn.
Yeah. So, I guess part of me wonders if, the 7 sacred planets plus 1 are kind of like being represented in the lighting of the menorahs, which, if you looked at it that way, it could be sort of like a path working, where you're visiting the different spheres in mind as you make your way on a path up the tree to get to Kether.
Yes. Well, I like that. As I was saying, in the counting of the Omer, there's certain days. But this is really during Sukkot, right? So it must start during Sukkot and then go up to Passover. So there's days where we literally are inviting in to the sukkah, the little dwelling place we've created, just certain of our ancestors. So again, it's not these wonderful mystical ideas from Kabbalah, but it's the people of the Bible. So Abraham and then Sarah.
So spiritual ancestors, basically.
Yeah, exactly. We're inviting them in. And so I just haven't heard of what you're talking about. But I think you got something there, I think that would be amazing, to think about, different aspects of, I also think of the human body. I mean, I'm not original in this, but the human body, Keter, I guess what left side would be feminine, right? So that would be the Hesed and the Gevurah. And also when you were talking about the 5-pointed star, I was thinking also just the human body. I was thinking of that Leonardo.
Yeah, well, that's very intentional. And I think that
exactly
goes back to the ideas about sacred geometry,
Yes.
which probably have some of their roots in, Greco-Roman practices, but probably more the Greek. I know
Oh, yeah.
the pentacle, as we're often seen it, has its origins in Greek tradition, and they used it on coins a lot. And it's not a straight up and down pentacle.
Hmm.
It's actually slightly off
Yes.
with the point kind of pointing up that way.
Right.
And yeah, I think it does represent the physical to a degree.
Yes.
Yeah, and interesting that you were talking about the body parts. There's a practice in esoteric traditions called the middle pillar, where you're invoking the different points of the Kabbalistic, what they call the Kabbalistic cross, where you have Auto, and then you go down to Malkuth, which is
Yes.
the base of the tree,
Yes.
and then you invoke Gavora and Gadora, which are Hesed and Gavora,
Okay.
to form a cross of light in your body and make that alignment.
Love that. Yeah. I'm always so interested to have conversations with you, Brendan. You have so much knowledge. You're like an encyclopedia.
Yeah, all that and $2.50 will buy me a cup of coffee.
I know. And I'll join you for that cup of coffee so we can have this conversation.
Yeah, I've cut down my coffee intake a bit, but
Oh, did you?
some this morning. So
yeah, I have been drinking green tea mate, and it's so good. And it's so I can go without coffee and drink that and no caffeine headache and nothing. I'm okay. And I'm getting so much energy from it.
yeah.
It's been really good for me also.
Yeah, I should get back into doing mate and green tea actually.
Still caffeine, but I'm okay with caffeine. I'm just not, sometimes I need something a little less intense than coffee.
Yeah, smaller doses work better for me these days. I think
Yeah.
I have to balance it. Because I think my nervous system is actually pretty sensitive. So I've been using like a lot of CBD to kind of balance that out, which seems to
Helping?
calm my nervous system overall.
Do you find it's helping?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely helps with some of the physical symptoms, of the neuropathy that I have in terms of the pain, and calms my nervous system.
Yes. So I'm curious, I wanted to ask this earlier. Are any of these things that you're dealing with also considered autoimmune?
Yes, and I don't have a definitive diagnosis, but some of the symptoms that I've got appear to be autoimmune related. I get these blisters, which it basically seems to be like my body is attacking itself as if it thinks that there's an invader.
Right, your skin is like your largest organ of your body. It's
Your what?
They say your skin is the largest organ of your body. So that's so interesting. So
I've got a couple of theories about what might be going on with that, but I have yet to get it confirmed by a doctor.
Okay. I imagine that, I don't know. I know MS is autoimmune, but I don't know if it's made certain illnesses, flus or whatever illnesses, any harder to heal from, because the immune system is a little haywire, but hopefully not. A couple of years ago I had flu and I had it so bad. I was like lying on the floor. I couldn't even move. And the paramedics had to come and they took me to the hospital. And I said to the doctor, or maybe it was to one of the nurses, that, I also have MS, and I'm worried the MS is going to kick in because of this. And she said, nope, this is just the flu. This is how this was some years ago. This is just the flu. You're not having an exacerbation also with the MS. Everything that's happening to you is attributable to the flu.
Yeah, I mean, your body does try to kick in with its immune system in fighting the flu. So I can't really say that that would necessarily be, I think the medical world tends to look at things as compartmentalized.
Yes.
They don't necessarily look at the continuum of what's going on with your body with regard to that. So you get an illness, your immune system starts doing things. And if you've already got an immune related issue, I can't see why that wouldn't be affecting other things in your health continuum.
Sure. That's interesting. That's true. That, Western medicine likes to compartmentalize. They deal with the symptoms, but not the reason for the symptoms, the underlying.
I'm completely convinced that my skin eruptions are related to my GI health.
Interesting. Wow. So you are you in the leaky gut? Can prove many.
What I've read about leaky gut, and part of the reason that the allopathic doctors kind of sneer at people talking about leaky gut is that everybody actually has leaky gut. The difference is, from what I've been able to understand, is how compromised is your gut lining and how compromised is the flora in your system.
Can a gut lining have tears in it, or how?
Yeah, I mean, your gut is permeable, and the degree of permeability relates to usually inflammation in the body. If you have inflammation happening, your gut lining might be more permeable, so you will get like a crossover of bacteria going into your bloodstream. One theory about the kind of blisters that I get is that it might be related to candidiasis.
Okay, so that's a food allergy? What? Is that from wheat? Is it an allergy? Do you think that's?
No, Candida is part of your normal gut flora.
Yeah, okay.
But when it gets out of balance, it can cause problems in other areas of your body.
Yeast, it's yeast, Candida. Is that yeast? Isn't it yeast?
It's a similar life form. Or the related, it might actually be yeast, and certain foods feed it, and you end up with an overgrowth. And if you have gut permeability, which again everybody does, it can cross over to other areas of your body. Some people can get it very severely. I think my ex-wife was struggling for years with a Candida infection, which she attributed to having happened because of mercury in her fillings.
Really? Oh, I've never heard of that correlation. Interesting.
Yeah, because the mercury weakens your immune system, allows the Candida overgrowth to happen.
Yes. Wow.
Same thing with antibiotics.
Yeah. Yes.
So the challenge is really to try to restore your gut health by restoring beneficial bacteria and allowing the lining of the gut to heal.
Yes. Well, there's a whole lot of biological things going on with these human bodies.
Yeah, I mean, only 40% of the human body is actually our own cells. The rest is all bacteria.
Really?
Walking masses of mostly bacteria. 60% of the cell material in our physical bodies is not us.
It took me a little while to become okay with the fact that we have little bugs in our eyebrows. That took me a little while. I was not happy about that at first. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you see pictures of those on the electron microscope, you're like, ah, that's living on my eyebrows. It's interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah, we are biological human beings, which is wonderful.
I don't know why this popped in my head, but I feel compelled to ask you, do you feel like your dream cycle is influenced by the lunar phases?
Like I do, actually.
More active.
Yeah. It's interesting. What is it? It's like full moonish right now. What's this guy doing?
We're getting toward a fuller moon.
Okay. So I will let you know. I have thought that, but I don't have any, evidence even to prove to myself, oh, I dreamed this because the moon was doing that. But I have been paying attention a little bit, but I'm not sure. I'll see after this full moon. I imagine I'm going to have a more vivid dream.
I mean, I used to really journal more completely, in that I would not only, note the phase of the moon, but if I had access to an ephemeris, I'd be looking at what else was going on astrologically.
Yeah, I know. I also wonder that. Yeah.
Because I objectively want to know how much of, that actually does influence our psychic life.
Yes, you sure? Right. I mean, we know the moon has a pull on the menstrual, on the body. Women know this, men know this too if they listen. And it's just like the moon has an effect on the tides in the ocean, and it has an effect on our menstrual cycle. So very likely there's also something psychic, not psychic, psyche related, connected with the moon.
Yeah, I mean, I was really feeling it at the past dark moon, which is how some people actually, who follow a pagan calendar.
Yes.
There's arguments about when is Samhain proper. And Samhain, just to differentiate Samhain from Halloween, which is more of a calendar celebration.
Yes.
Some people attribute the actual day to be related to when the dark moon comes closest to the end of October.
Okay, I like that. And that's how the Jews do it. We're not concerned about a calendar date. We're concerned about the moons.
Yeah, which makes total sense to me. And
yeah,
that's something I want to delve back into. Robert Graves, who wrote the book The White Goddess,
yes,
talks a lot about the connection between early European lunar traditions and Judaism. And, he's controversial because a lot of what he came forward with idea-wise comes from not any, archaeological or anthropological, but more intuitive and more poetic. And he believed that, Judaism was at one point at least more balanced in terms of masculine and feminine, and that the idea of the Shekinah, which is the feminine aspect of God, was more important at one point and got obscured by the more patriarchal traditions, maybe due to the influences of other foreign influences coming into the world of the Jews. But somehow that, except for within more mystical aspects of the Judaic tradition, the Shekinah has been largely obscured.
I always like to liken the Shekinah with the Holy Ghost, because that's where, is that only Catholicism or is that other Christian? The Father.
I think the Protestants talk about the Holy Spirit versus the Holy Ghost. But yeah, I agree with
Same
that.
thing, you know. So, and that's the Shekinah. Is
Yeah, and it's often represented as a dove descending.
Beautiful. Yeah, yes. There's been a lot of imbalance with the masculine and feminine in our world, and hopefully we'll achieve more of a balance at some point.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at the archetypes there, you know, you've got the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which you can overlay that with the Egyptian cosmology, where you have Isis and Osiris and Horus, you know, Horus being, you know, the revelatory sort of active force, more like a Messiah type figure who redeems the world.
The sun. That's really interesting.
So I really think that a lot of this stuff is very old, and even older, you know, than, you know, the form of Judaism that's come down to us.
Yes.
You know, you think about the fact that, you know, sites like Stonehenge were built, you know, 3,000 plus years ago.
Right, right.
You know, some of this stuff is older than Egypt, you know, like Scala Bray, you know, up in Scotland. It's really old.
What is that?
Scala Bray is a archaeological site in the Orkney Islands, and it's very old. Some of the archaeology of the place indicates that it may have been a temple complex of some kind, but there's, you know, standing stones associated with it, and it's way older than it's older than Stonehenge. It's older than the pyramids.
Wow.
Neolithic era.
Yeah.
You know, and we know nothing about the practices that might have been done there.
Right.
What we know, you know, is that there were, you know, rooms that were laid out in a way where some of them had central fire pits, but the footpath through those spaces is that you can't really see what's going on in one room until you actually enter it.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's a revelatory process that's happening as
Yeah.
you move through the spaces.
Yeah. So I'm so sorry. I love this conversation, and I'd love to have another one not so long off. But my kid is back listening to loud shows and whatnot. So I'm gonna have to go. But Brendan, it's great.
We'll
to
do this
talk.
again. And I'll try to keep better track of my dreams. I really need to start journaling again.
Yeah, yes. And I will too. And I truly will try to notice how my dream life is around the full moon.
All right, cool. I'll do the same.
Okay, talk to you soon, Brendan.
Yeah.
And
good
to our listeners, thank you for joining us. Holamod Metukim, sweet dreams.
Olave.